We are revolutionary.
Welcome back once again to TUGS Mysteries, a series where we take a look at the loose ends with TUGS and discuss what could have been. Today is a very special episode, as this one features the return of a previous collaborator from the series. Give it up for A1 Pacific, who will be joining me today.
Hello everybody. I love tugs. Alright, it's been a while since I've been on a TUGS Mysteries video, and there's no better subject I'd like to talk about than characters from this show that had been cut or would have featured heavily. So let's dive in, shall we?
TUGS notably features a cast of steam-powered tugboat characters. From paddlers to ocean-going steam tugs, the series takes place throughout the 1920s, presumably 1 year if the Sizzler is anything to go off of, and is meant to show the heyday of the steam tugs. However, originally appeared there was going to be a much bigger threat to all of the tugs, that being a diesel-powered character. On the surface, it might seem to be a piece of tugs that got scrapped pretty early on, possibly in the early planning phases. However, as me and A1 are going to deep dive, Diesel surprisingly got very far.
It was planned for this Diesel Tug character to be built at Lucky's yard throughout the season, starting off as a wooden structure, then over time would begin to take shape of a harbour-sized tugboat. Inspiration for the Diesel Tug was drawn heavily on the real-life H.C. Jefferson, which was a New York-based tug. The tug spanned a lengthy career, being owned by the Curtis Bay Towing Company, which was then absorbed into the Moran Towing Corporation. After being renamed, the tug was sunk to become an artificial reef. An interesting backstory, to say the least. But how did the crew intend to make a diesel-powered character?
The Diesel character was originally planned to appear sometime at the end of TUGS. In fact, in Regatta in one shot, you could actually see a diesel engine, possibly for the Diesel Tugs. In some episodes like Jinx, there were tarps on the Diesel Tug hull itself, before in some others like in Regatta, those tarps have been completely removed. So it seemed that later in production, Diesel was planned to appear throughout the filming phase of the show. More so confirmed in both versions of the TUGS sizzle reel, which briefly mentioned Diesel's taking over.
Even so, steam in its turn would shortly have to give way to diesel.
However, all seemingly changed around late 1988. Plans quickly changed to make episodes that took place on upriver, and around that point was when they scrapped Diesel altogether. So, what happened to Diesel?
From what we know, this character was to play a large role in tugs. It was a lingering threat, and was to spell doom for the steam-powered tugs, with it originally being a hot topic often discussed by the tugs as its construction commenced. Going by original plot outlines, the stars expressed very different opinions about this new tug. 10 Cents and Big Mac curious about its functions, Sunshine and OJ hoping the tug will benefit the port, Warrior, surprisingly to me, fearing the end of the steam tugs, and Top Hat being Top Hat, thinks the tug lacks style. According to the crew, the general consensus was that the Diesel Tug was feared amongst the steam tugs.
It really is a shame that Diesel was cut from the final show. He would have added so much more to the show's dynamic, and also would have had quite a lot of tension, much like how Devious Diesel from Thomas did the same thing. So the next question is, if they build a prop for him, and were also planning to include him during the filming stages, is there any more visual evidence of his existence? Why, yes! First of all, there's a wooden carving of his hat, with the names clearly scribbled on, which also is a fun fact. It appeared internally that Diesel was originally named Diesel, as all of the internal media for him was spelt such. Then we notably have this concept art piece for his face design, done by none other than Spike Paul Knight himself. This piece notably had him based off of Elvis Presley himself, and could definitely be seen of what kind of character they wanted to make Diesel.
The concept art, even if we have very little for Diesel, shows the crew very much intended for him to be a mainstay towards the end of the show. The various models of the stages of his hull's construction and his superstructure being built so early on shows how impactful this character was going to be. Let's speculate a bit on what his personality might have been. His face design being based off Elvis really says something, as Elvis's onstage image was a very flashy, name in lights kind of presence, and I feel the crew may have taken some form of inspiration from that. Perhaps Diesel would have been a total hotshot, maybe he would have been outgoing and fast-paced, which is certainly something to think about how he would have interacted with the main cast.
I think it's time to bring up the biggest evidence that Diesel was supposedly meant to be more of a mainstay near the end. that being actual blueprints for the character that depict the full TUGS superstructure and all, showcasing Diesel's full design, plus possibly a tarp covering his face. Most likely they might have intended for Diesel to have a face reveal in his episode, or possibly as a placeholder. As in Spike's piece, notably the name Diesel is followed up with a question mark. Diesel? But I'm more leaning towards it being a possible test for how the character's face could look. Regardless, it was all for nothing in the end. TUGS ended only at one season, and the Diesel Tug never showed up in the final show, now becoming a rather simple relic. And that, my friends, is a look at the Diesel Tug. It was overall very interesting diving into this character and seeing what we could have had on the show.
This elusive character definitely is an interesting part of what could have been had the crew executed their plans better. I find it funny how a character with so much intended concept art, a planned impact on the show, and even fully built models was ultimately reduced to a background set piece. Diesel has become a fan favorite character, with many fan projects adding him as a character in stories. Impressive for a scrap character, huh? But that's what makes this show such a unique one, because of how in-depth and deep the mysteries and scrap concepts are.
Indeed it is. Go check out A1's YouTube channel, and also please check out his and Pumpkin's fan series, 10 Senses Harbor Adventures. I also voice act in it, but who, you might ask? Well, find it out for yourself by checking out the series.
Oh, and speaking of 10 Senses Harbor Adventures, Pumpkin and I do have some plans to add a Diesel character into the series, so check it out and stay tuned for future episodes.
Stay tuned indeed. Anyhow, this has been another thrilling TUGS mysteries for you all, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye!